Welcome back to Torque and Power. Appreciate you guys all checking in. Today is an extremely exciting topic. It's probably the most talked about topic all the time on every bike ever made, and it's exhaust. But today we're gonna give the V-Rod some love. So we're gonna give the 2017 V-Rod muscle some love, and we're gonna talk about pretty much all V-Rods across the board, what exhaust you should choose, why, what's the deal with them, right? There's so many different options out there when it comes to exhaust. I mean, it can almost be overwhelming and what to do. And it's not just something you can run down to your dealership, pick up, put on, see how it sounds, see how it looks. That's what we're gonna talk about today. So hopefully you can narrow down what exhaust will actually work for you and on your bike. So let's get to it. All right, welcome back to Torque and Power. Like I said, thank you guys for checking in. Appreciate you guys. If you guys do like this content, make sure you hit that subscribe and like, because we do have it. Stage 2 cams coming down the road for the V-Rod. So if that's something you're interested in, you certainly want to hit subscribe, because we will be doing the install on this bike. I can't wait for that, actually. Also, I appreciate you guys with the comments. I love it. You guys are cracking me up. Some of you guys are asking me about, what kind of shirt I'm wearing, or maybe about the exhaust or the filters. I love that community, which is exactly what we're trying to build on this channel. But today, what are we talking about? We're talking about exhaust systems for the V-Rod. Maybe you're someone out there who is thinking about getting a V-Rod. Maybe you're someone who has a V-Rod. You're thinking about changing it up. Well, hopefully this will help you out. Exhaust systems, when it comes to these motorcycles, you could go on for days. This isn't going to be a whole encompassing end-all be-all when it comes to exhaust. This is what you choose. No, this is going to be much more tips from what I've learned over the years, from seeing the dynos on these bikes, from hearing these exhausts, seeing them, driving them. Hopefully I can help provide some clarity for you if it's something you're thinking about, okay? Because otherwise you could just go on, like I said, for days on exhaust systems, and you could argue horsepower numbers and all these other different things, but this is my perspective on it. So hopefully this helps you guys out there. And again, if you have any comments about this stuff, hit it below, because there's so many of you guys out here who do have these systems and you have done dyno numbers with it, and I would love to hear it. But all right, today let's talk about it. 5 different things is what it's come down to for me, and it is, how do you ride? And what I mean by that is it a long or a short ride? Okay, there's 5 things. First one, long or short ride. And what I mean by that, think about your riding style. If you're gonna do a long ride, you might not want a loud exhaust. You might want the slip-ons. You might not want a 2-in-1 short exhaust where it's all about the crazy performance and whatnot. Think about that. If you're riding long, you might not want your ears bleeding and it's screaming all the time. So slip-ons and a longer exhaust might be better for you. That's number 1. Think about that when it comes to what you're gonna buy and what you're gonna purchase. Number 2, performance. This is always a big one. It's always debatable. Performance, really, it's pretty easy. If you're gonna do a longer and a bigger build on your bike, and you're gonna go into big bore, or you're gonna do aggressive cams, you're gonna do more than just a stage 1 where it's not just the air filter and the exhaust, then maybe you can dig into a more performance-minded exhaust system like a 2-in-1. Otherwise, the difference of what you're gonna get between horsepower and torque on slip-ons to a 2-in-1 exhaust system is gonna be extremely small. If you're keeping your bike more towards the stock end like I have, you're barely gonna notice any kind of horsepower difference when it comes to it, okay? So think about that and keep that in mind when you go into purchase and think about what system works for you. because it can get confusing. So many people do get caught up in horsepower numbers. Oh, I'm gonna get 3, I'm gonna get 5, I'm gonna get 6, whatever it may be. All those numbers, first of all, vary. If you go and get your bike tuned by a tuner, right, that's gonna change the numbers of what you're gonna get from your exhaust system. How many things that you have component-wise that you have within your bike? Do you have cams, like I said? Do you have a big bore system? Do you have that stuff that's what you're gonna do, maybe even down the road? Then sure, go ahead and invest into a system that might produce those kind of numbers. Otherwise, you might be able to just stick with slip-ons, and you might not need to have the full system and go through all that. What you also need to think about too, if you are gonna go that route, where you're gonna go with a header and then the exhaust system, or you're gonna go with the 2-in-1 like I keep saying, you need to be thinking about what's gonna go into that as well, because typically you're gonna have to get a tune. You got the wideband oxygen sensors. I know a lot of people who don't have tuners and they just put the slip-ons and they go. And that's great, that's fine. I mean, nothing against it. I know plenty of people do, they've had 0 problems. Do know that these bikes do run lean naturally already from the factory. So when you do that stuff, you know, it can get a little tricky. It can get a little leaner. I do always suggest getting some kind of tuner and tuning it. I have done that with this bike, with my motorcycle, with my muscle. I have the Power Vision on it. And by doing that, the bike runs better. It really does. It's much more fluid for me. My throttle response is better. It's taken away some of the kind of the blips in the RPM range when it comes to it. So I do recommend it. But if you are conscious, like budget conscious of that stuff, and you do just the slip-ons, that's fine. You certainly can get away with not tuning the bike. So think about that stuff. So if you go with the other system and you're gonna have a header and the wide bands and whatnot, you're gonna have to tune the bike, okay? So that is it in a nutshell when it comes to performance. Don't get caught up. The numbers are very small when it comes to horsepower until you start getting deeper into your build. Like I said, the big bore and cams and stuff like that, or superchargers and turbos, then you can start looking at bigger horsepower numbers with the exhaust. All right, that's performance. That's it right there. Okay, moving on. Style, I think that's another big thing. Style, right? Depending upon what kind of V-Rod you have, if you have the muscle, you got the Night Rod Special, maybe you got some of the first generation ones, or you got the Screaming Eagle, the CVO that they made in 05 and 06, that's gonna change the look of the bike. So some of these systems don't look good. Some of them, like what I have, you can't put on the other bikes because I have an exhaust on each side with my slip-ons, and that's the way the muscle is made, right? So you're not gonna be able to get that look. A 2-in-1 look might be for you. So think about that. Style is a big factor too when it comes to it. Price, right? Price is always a big one. Doesn't matter what kind of budget you're on, price is a big deal. So slip-ons are obviously gonna be towards the more efficient side of cost friendly, right? As opposed to a full system, that's gonna obviously cost more. And then with that full system, again, you're gonna have to get the bike tuned and go to someone who really knows what they're doing when it comes to tuning, and you're gonna have to pay for that. And the wide bands are gonna come with it as well. When you go with the slip-ons, you just boom, like it sounds, you slip them on and then off you go. And then if you wanna tune it, I would say that's an optional thing. So price-wise, there is gonna be a big difference there as well. And then of course, you know, you got yourself a Harley-Davidson. What is always the #1 thing when it comes to Harley-Davidsons, whether you got the touring bike, you got the V-Rod, you got the Softail over here, it's gonna be sound. What is that bike gonna sound like? And these things, when they're in stock trim, I know when my V-Rod muscle was in stock trim, which was not for very long at all, this thing was so ridiculously quiet. I honestly could not believe that a bike could be this quiet. I mean, even like sport bikes have more noise, right? And they're notorious for being quiet, but I could hear the cams more than I could hear the exhaust on this bike. I mean, I just kind of blew my mind. So that sound, I mean, it's a big deal. How loud do you want it to be? And that goes back to what kind of riding style are you gonna be? You're gonna be traveling long or traveling short? And you know, you want it to scream and you want that short system, go with it. It's gonna scream, it's gonna make your ears bleed. Or do you want something that's a little bit more toned and I would say livable? Then slip on, something like that's gonna be a little bit better for you. So stuff to think about, right? Things to think about when it comes to it. So Let's do a run through of the systems, and I'll post the pictures either here or here, you know, which side of my face. And we'll run through it and kind of just quickly my little thoughts on this. So Vance Hines, that's always a main company. They don't make these systems anymore, brand new, but I'm sure you can still find them out there. There's plenty of them. They made this bike for 15 years. You can find Vance Hines, but they have the slip-on version, whether it's for the muscle, the night rod special, and then they also have the 2-in-1. The 2-in-1, just make sure you guys know there's a couple things. One, the 2-in-1, when you go to turn and you do a sharp turn, a lot of people scrape that exhaust. So think about that. These things are already not the best at taking sharp turns. That exhaust will scrape. Two, I believe it doesn't have heat shield, so you got to heat wrap it. You got to wrap tape it. A lot of guys do that. You don't have to, I'm sorry, but it does take away the heat from your legs. And those systems make a lot of heat. And when you wrap it, you're gonna get moisture in there, and over time, you're either gonna lose the way it looks, the coating on the exhaust, or it's gonna actually rust through from moisture getting trapped in there. So think about that. So Vance Hines, that's one. And I'm sorry if I butcher the second name, but I will. Ekropovoik, I want to say that is the right way of saying it, but I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, hit me in the comments below, tell me how to say it. But this system's cool. It's very popular. You see it a lot on the internet where guys over in Europe have it, or Australia or New Zealand. You see a lot of them having it. I've seen it here in the States many times. It sounds great. I think it goes right along with kind of that slip-on sound that Vance Hines has. It sounds good. It has a nice toned sound to it, but I think it has a little bit of that love or hate relationship when it comes to it, because people either don't like the way it looks on their bike or they love the way it looks. So maybe it's for you. They're known for their systems. I mean, their systems come on Ducatis, all sorts of high-end bikes. It's a beautifully well-made system. And I think Vance Hines is a nice system too, their quality as well. And that one has heat shields and whatnot, so that helps you out, especially when it comes to dissipating that heat. So something to think about. Bizani makes it. I think Bizani's Italian, I believe. I have it on my Terminator Cobra over there, a full Bizani exhaust, and I love the way that it sounds. So Bizani sounds really nice. I like the way they sound. I didn't choose their slip-ons for mine just because I wasn't a fan of how it looked on my bike. I thought the Vance Hines looked like stock, like it came from the factory with that look. So with me, that attracted me, and I liked the noise. It was perfect. Bizani, they got the chrome, they got the black. Their look might be for you. Not knocking it by any means. I mean, Bizani makes great stuff. I think it looks great. If that's your thing, go with it. It sounds awesome. Okay, Bizani. Tab, I would say is a little bit lower end in my mind. When I see them, they're pretty much completely gutted. They don't have any baffles when it comes to them, right? The other ones I've mentioned, they got the fiberglass baffle in there. It's a little bit quieter. Tab, to me, is always, it's gutted and there's not much to it. I don't know if you can add baffles. I'm sure you can add baffles to anything if you take the time. But Tab is a gutted look, and it's just a shell of an exhaust, and they are loud and they sound tinny to me, okay? In my opinion, they sound tinny to me. I don't think you can dislike the way they look. They look fine on the bikes. The style goes along with it. It's just a round canister, but I'm not a fan of the noise. It's a little much, and it just doesn't sound pleasant to me. But that's certainly out there. Nothing against it. If you got Tab exhaust, it's cool. It works, right? But Tab is another brand that's out there. You have Fitzgerald, right? A lot of people, if you're in the V-Rods, you know Fitzgerald. I gotta get comfy here again. He's one of the guys out there that still is making V-Rod stuff out in Ohio. I've heard nothing but good stuff from his exhaust systems, predominantly two of them, the Sucker Punch and then his more famous Ground Pounder. So the Ground Pounder is one we'll talk about, which is pretty close. It's pretty much a copy of the V-Rod Destroyer exhaust that they had on their drag bike. So you can imagine it is loud, freaking make your ears bleed loud. So if you like that, you want to scream down the road and let all the cops know where you're at, that is an exhaust for you, like the Vance Hines 2-in-1. They both scream, make a lot of noise. But he's done a good job of redesigning it. The same company that made the Destroyer exhaust makes the same one for him as well. And he has taken it and he has tucked it up and in. So actually for your turning radius, you're gonna be okay on that exhaust. And like I said, I hear nothing but good things. People love it, but it is loud. So get ready for it to be loud. And that's another exhaust that you're gonna wanna get tuned because it's that 2-in-1 and it's short. It's boom, it's right by your ear. That's Fitzgerald. All right, a couple others. Thunderheader is another company that's out there. A little bit longer, 2-in-1. I think it sounds great. I've heard it before. It sounds great. It's an awesome sounding exhaust. It just didn't work for the style on my bike, but it might work for the style on your bike. CFR, that's another company out there. Again, I think it sounds great. And that could work for your bike too. It might be the style of your bike. I think it works great. It looks nice, and I hear nothing but good things from them as well. And Thunderheader, I hear nothing but good stuff from them as well. There's Super Trap that's out there. That's another kind of hate or love if that's your style. Wasn't a fan obviously for my bike. I think it sounds fine. I'm not a big fan of kind of their technology with that kind of exhaust system, but maybe you are. I do have two sides to that I always hear, people who like it and other people not really for them. So that's an option. And then now here we go. We got a big one here, Toxic. Toxic's a brand. Toxic looks cool, but that's another I kind of think hate or love. You have to like that look of that radius look of the exhaust. It looks really cool. I get the attraction for it, but you do hear people complain about the performance numbers where they lose that low end torque and that mid-range. And if you know the V-Rods, they already are high horsepower bikes and high end. So losing that low end can be a little tough because you're not always screaming at the top RPMs. So you do lose that. I think they look good. They look nice if it's for you. I've heard them, they're loud as well. They sound cool, they're very loud as well as an exhaust system. So maybe that large radius is your thing, but do be aware that horsepower stuff is out there. I've heard it too many times for it not to be true. So think about that. And the other option you can go is stock pipes, right? Let's not forget, the most budget friendly of them all, stock pipes. I've seen guys gut their pipes, pull everything out, and then I've seen people cut their pipes to where it's just a short little guy and that will scream too, will make noise. Again, to me it always sounded a little tinny. It will change obviously the bike. You're gonna have to probably get that tuned as well, I would imagine. And like I said, I recommend tuning all of them. If you're really gonna get the most out of it, I would think about always tuning it. It's just a good idea. It's just, it honestly is. But you can do the stock pipes where you can gut them, like I said, or you can chop them. That would be the most efficient. I've seen it many times, guys love it. I want to talk about baffles when it comes to these exhausts. Now these are baffle inserts, okay? A lot of these exhausts either don't have anything in there, like the tabs where they're just opened up, and then some will have the baffle, and then it depends how much fiberglass wrapping they have in there and then what kind of baffle. But what I'm talking about is baffle inserts, not very big, and what you do is you can put them in there, bolt them up, and I've had them in my Vance Hines slip-ons, and they're supposed to take the decibels down a little bit. Well, I'm telling you, honestly, it was minimal that it even takes them down. And my buddies who have had the baffles, again, it's been minimal with them of taking down that sound. So I wouldn't recommend baffles. I also didn't like the way the bike really sounded after the baffles. It sounded a little off. So for me, it was just out. I took them back out. I love the way the bike sounds now. And granted, if you like these bikes that scream and have these noise, you know, don't think about it. You can't just put earplugs in and you're fine. If you still want it to scream, throw some earplugs in your helmet and you'll be good to go, and that loud noise will certainly get taken away. So you can have both the best worlds if you want it, right? Short rides or long rides, you can just put some earplugs in your ears. But the baffles, to me, the inserts, going back to that, not really worth it. I wouldn't waste the money on it. I don't think the baffles really do much, the inserts. If you guys know different, I mean a different exhaust system with the baffles, hit it up below, let us know. I think it would be great if you got a different experience than I do. Yeah, and that's it. I mean, I want to make a quick little short video on this stuff. Like I said, there's tons to cover. I hope you guys liked it. Maybe it'll make you have a better informed decision when it comes to buying a V-Rod, or you have a V-Rod and you want to get a different exhaust system, all right? Well, wow, I can't even talk. Well, until next time, make sure you guys keep both wheels down, and I'll see you later.